Welcome to Lesson 13, Bar Graphs and Histogram. We are on page 113. Take a minute and answer questions 1 through 3 at the bottom using these two graphs. So what you see, basically both of these graphs, we got a circle graph on top, so circle graph up here, and we got a bar graph on the bottom. Notice that they show the exact same thing. They're both talking about Central Indiana Ivy Tech degree pursuit. So they got the different types of degrees, and they're both in percents. So what this does, it shows you two different ways to represent the same data. So in number 3, you can talk about advantages and disadvantages of each. And is one better than the other? Not necessarily. It totally depends on what you're trying to show. So hopefully 1 through 3 went okay. Let's go to page 114. All right, on page 114, you see a table at the bottom, so not what you see on the screen here, but that shows the educational attainment of the population 15 years and over by sex and age for 2011, and the numbers are in thousands. So what we're going to do is we're going to use what you see here, these 1 through 5 spots, to talk about the educational attainment. Basically, this is the data that we're going to use to make our bar graph. So when you look at the table in your packet on page 114, you see the educational attainment. There are 5 levels. So the first one is less than high school. And you notice that less than high school is 43,303, and it's 17.8%. That's a horrible looking 8. So 17.8%. Hopefully you see where I got that, because we're looking both sexes total for the less than high school. Okay, go ahead, hit pause, and finish out the rest of these 4, high school graduate and so on. Okay, so you can check your numbers and your percents, because we're going to need those for the next page. So hopefully you've got those all taken care of. If you add up the percents there in that last column, wow, Yep, it does come out nicely. I was like, it should come out to 100% because these are all of them. I was looking at the wrong numbers. I apologize. So those are the totals. So now we're going to use these numbers to move on to page 115. All right, look at page 115. We're just creating bar graphs from the information on page 115. So on the top one, we're using the counts. So when you see less than high school is 43,303, so it's a little bit over 40,000, not quite half. It's hard to do with my finger. All right, so there's a bar graph. That same one at the bottom, when you have the percentages, is 17.8%, so it's, again, a little over 15, whatever. So I want you to go ahead and finish those 2 graphs and answer the questions about on page 115 now. Alright, so your bar graph should look approximately like this. And again, these are, when you're making bar graphs, the numbers on the left here are, you got to be close. So, 70,476 for this one is, a little bit over 70,000. But how close that is kind of, it's close. But notice the counts, what it looks like. And then when you go to your percents, notice how the bar graphs look pretty much the same. Right, and they should, because you get the percents based off of the numbers. And when you then look at the questions on the bottom page 115, how are the bar graphs different? Well, the only difference is the vertical axis. If you look at the vertical axis, in the top one you've got counts, right? So you have numbers in thousands, and on the bottom you have the percents. So that's the only difference. The labels are the same, the title is the same, and pretty much the bars are the same. And number 2, why use bars of equal width? Well, I want to go back to this and say, let's pretend that we made our advanced degree this big, right? And the rest of them we made this big, right? What does that show? Well, all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, advanced degree must be more important because it's bigger. BS, right? When you're showing data, you want it all to be equal, right? You want to show consistency, so you want them to all be the same, which is why we have bars of equal width. And number 3, the difference between high school grad and some college, there's a little bit, and if you want to quantify it, you can either use, so for number 3, you can use numbers or you can use percents. The numbers, 70,476 compared to the 65,979, or you can use the percent and say it's 28.9% compared to the 27%. So remember, the word quantify means numbers. All right, we are now on page 116, 117. They kind of go together. You see two bar graphs on page 116. I want you to use those bar graphs to answer the questions on page 117. So hit pause, try to answer them, and then come back and we'll go through questions 4 through 8. All right, so how many graduates? And this one says how many. So we're looking for number. And I would say your number should be right around 3,500. Whoa, just 2 zeros. Right around 3,500 when you look at that. And then number 5 is kind of tricky. Explain how the unemployment rate for each category is calculated. Now notice they did these by educational attainment, so by category. So when you think about this, you would say, okay, the rate is found by taking the number, so per category, the number of unemployed, okay, so in the category, so if we're talking about less than high school, so the number of unemployed less than high school over the total number in that, that should be an N, in that category. So if you have 3,000 that are unemployed and you have 10,000 total, divide, and that would, turn it to a percent, and that would give you your rate. Okay. Number 6, the unemployment rate of high school graduates without any college. I would say that it's between 9 and 10. I don't know, maybe 9.5%, something close to that. Number 7, differences in these two charts. So notice how in this one, our charts are not the same. So in the top one, they kind of go up and down. In the bottom one, they kind of steadily decrease. So, you can say kind of anything. But why do they follow different patterns? So one thing could be total numbers. Whoops, I wanted the word total in front of that. Right? If you have less people, you may have a higher unemployment rate. Or vice versa, really. It kind of depends on how many people fall in that category and how many of them are unemployed. You might also say, well, there may be more opportunities for somebody with a bachelor's degree and higher for a job. So you've got to kind of look at, the educational attainment, what it means, and also the number of people in each category. And then number 8, looking at the unemployment rate by educational attainment. That's the bottom graph. General conclusion. Well, when I look on it, I'm like, well, as you go further to the right, you've got a lower, it looks like a lower unemployment rate. So you go from less than high school to a high school to graduate, some degree, or some college but no degree, an associate's degree, and bachelor's degree. So notice, as you obtain degrees or get some college experience, your unemployment rate goes down. So the more education, less unemployment rate is kind of what that goes with. And we are going to say that is video number 1, bar charts.